Okay. I think we got here questions about human-environmental interaction. The big thing is, it's how humans use or abuse or adapt to the environment. Those are questions that you guys, I think, got already. Is that right? You got those questions yesterday, or we're right there?
You're right there.
Okay.
We were.
So, how might humans interact with the environment? They use the environment without changing it. Very uncommon.
Wait, where are we?
It should be slide 6. Top, but
I see it.
okay. Or yeah, bottom of the page. Anyway, how do humans modify the environment? I think I would just do one of them. Adapt to the environment. When I think of adapt to the environment, I think of the easy ones, thinking put on a coat when it's cold, take off your coat when it's hot. But there's way more than that. If you think of in terms of structures that are built, homes in Kansas are way different than homes in other parts of the world, right? Those homes are adapted for the environment. In Florida, South Florida, they have hurricanes. Many of the beach houses are on stilts. You might not know they're on stilts because they usually put lumber around them so it looks like it's a basement, but they're actually on stilts, usually about 7 or 8 feet. Why would they have a stilted house? Yes?
So, like, the water can't come up and flood up?
Good. The wind in hurricanes are bad, but what really does the destruction is the storm surge, which is the ocean rises and floods. If you have a stilted house, the chance of getting flooded is less. In Kansas, most single-family homes have basements. If you go to Oklahoma or Texas, very few do. The reason why is the earth, the clay, the soil in those parts of those states moves around a lot. It settles. So if you put a foundation basement, the foundation cracks a bunch and it's unlivable. So most people in the South, in the Oklahoma and Texas, do not have basements. Has anyone been to New Orleans? Really have? Has anyone been?
3 years ago.
Okay. Well, have you ever been by a cemetery in New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's different about it?
They're all mausoleums.
Good. They're mausoleums. A mausoleum, it looks kind of like a stone doghouse, more or less. Would that be the best way to describe it?
Yeah.
Their water table is really high, which means if you start digging down about 2 or 3 feet, there's water that starts to seep up. So putting a coffin 6 feet under isn't going to do any good. So what they do is they build their mausoleums, little brick structures that they put the coffins in. That's how they adapt to their environment. Bad thing was during Katrina, when there was a big flood in New Orleans, hundreds and hundreds of coffins floated out of the mausoleums, and so there were coffins and dead bodies all over the place after the flood.
That'd be scary.
Yeah.
Like you just wake up, there's a dead
Wake up, rock up your friends. Or like a snake.
One of my buddies from high school, he still works for in the Air Force. He's an officer in the Air Force, and his job is basically to organize people building new military bases, or basically he's a construction worker that works for the Air Force. So he's a foreman, more or less. But when Katrina struck, he had to go down and help clean up the area, and he actually for a while was on the dead body detail, so he had to pick up dead bodies, and some of the dead bodies were from like those mausoleums. He said it was pretty sickening work.
You better got paid. Nice.
I don't know. He makes more money than I do, but
I wish you were a teacher.
of course I'm a teacher. Yeah, right. Okay, do you guys have this? No. Okay, give you a couple minutes. We humans modify our environment quite a bit. We adapt as well. We rarely don't mess with it. Even what we think of as a forest that's never been touched, like if we look out that window out there, that's a forest. It looks like it's not been adapted. That forest is not what it would have looked like 300 years ago. The trees would have been much larger. Our next one is movement, right? Yes, movement. Movement is the movement of people and ideas through an area or place. Why people move in and out of an area tells a big story about that area. Can I go now?
Yeah.
Okay. We're starting a project, so I want to get this done before lunch. Okay, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. We might... Anyway. I will shorten some of this a little bit. Okay. The questions you need to ask for movement. How will you get there? If you're talking about the United States, there are hundreds of roads that lead into the United States from Canada and Mexico. There are thousands of airports in the United States. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of ports that boats come into in the United States. If you're talking about Bhutan, there are 3 roads into the whole country and 1 airport.
Oh, well, that's
how does this place export things to other places? Do they export things? Do they import things? If you live in, say, Siberia, if you're not by a railroad, nothing's coming in or nothing's going out. There's not really roads that go there. If you live in Bhutan, you're basically going to have to live off the land, grow what you need. There's not much coming in. If you're in the United States, things are moving around continuously. Okay, does this place import things from other places? Why would people come or leave this place? This is an important one. It tells you a lot about what that place is about, if people are coming there or moving out of there. Think of Western Kansas. A lot of cities in Western Kansas are getting way smaller. Why? Why are people leaving Western Kansas towns? Are there jobs now in those little towns? No, there just really isn't. So most people are moving out. Why is Wyandotte County growing very quickly?
More jobs.
Okay, why are there more jobs? 15 years ago, Wyandotte County was actually getting smaller. It was not growing. That's changed in the last 15 years. When you guys were first born, out by the Legends was they were finishing to build a racetrack, and that was it. There was no shops. There was nothing out there other than they were finishing up building a racetrack. Now there are literally hundreds of businesses, plus the world headquarters of Cerner.
Maria Ramirez to attendance. Maria Ramirez to attendance.
Cerner is the second biggest company in Kansas City, and probably in the next 10 years it'll be the biggest company in Kansas City. Yes.
What is it?
Sprint.
Oh.
But Cerner and then all those other businesses have brought people. Think of all those houses being built out that way. There are also new houses being built in parts of Turner. Those wouldn't have happened 10 or 20 years ago. People are now coming to Wyandotte because there are opportunities. That wasn't that way 20 years ago. People were leaving it for other places. Maybe the county next door. Who knows? That tells a story about an area, if people are coming in or people are leaving. Okay, there's more than just literally people moving in and out. We're talking about movement. We're also talking about ideas. The types of movement are physical movement, humans, information, and ideas. A guy I know, his son is a freshman or sophomore in college. He as a senior this kid, he wanted to actually do more than just the average. You know, when you guys are seniors, as a class, you guys will get some senior gift, maybe for the school, or do something for the school. If you go outside, the sign says built by class of 2015 or whatever it is. When you guys graduate in 2019, you'll have something there. Well, this kid that I know his dad, he decided that was boring, and he happened to be the class president, and he decided they were going to do something more for his class. So they actually raised money instead of something for their high school. He found out that there was a school in Nepal, which is where Mount Everest is. And there's a school that was started by an American, and he literally has a school that's a high school. It's basically the size of this room. It's just a building, one-room building. And he had computers and stuff, but in Nepal, because internet isn't very big, you have to pay for internet by the hour, and it's like $40 or $50 an hour for the use of internet. So he really couldn't use his computers very much. He brought nearly a classroom set of computers with him, but he just couldn't afford the internet costs. So this kid, he organized all his class to do a fundraiser. Instead of something for their high school, they fundraised to give this guy the money to afford internet for the whole school year. So that's what they did. Imagine what these kids in Nepal, these Nepalese kids, can do now that they have access to the internet basically every day of school compared to what they were able to do before that. This American had just started school. He didn't really have much textbooks. He was just kind of teaching kids. There wasn't a school there. So now he had the internet. The information coming into that school is way different than it would have been, right? There's also the movement of ideas. What you got, when I first started Turner 10 years ago, the kids were in way different clothes and had different style hair than they are now. Things change, right? The ideas change. That's the idea of movement. Okay, you guys have this? Excellent. We are going to get this done before lunch. That's what my goal. I'll shorten this.
This is a learning environment.
Okay.
Let me finish this one.
Okay. So, region. This is not religion. I had people that asked me that earlier. This is region. So what are some questions you should ask about the region? What language do they speak? Are there multiple languages? What are the political divisions? Are the political divisions or boundaries defined? In some parts of the world, you don't even know where one country starts and another one ends. Many countries in Africa and in Asia, the boundaries are like in the middle of a forest and there's no boundaries. With the Ebola outbreak last summer and into the fall happened, many people from one country tried to walk to a hospital in another country, and that's how they spread the disease among countries. There's literally walked. Many of the West African countries that was the Ebola outbreak, cars weren't a thing. I watched a video last spring at the very end of the year we watched, because I taught biology and we talked about it. They tracked this lady when the first person that brought Ebola, they actually were able to figure out the very first person to bring Ebola to Nigeria. She walked about 30 miles from her town, her little village in one country, ended up hitching a ride on the back of a person's scooter another 100 miles, and then walked into a bigger city in Nigeria. And she spread, this one person spread Ebola to like 4 or 5 different towns as she was moving through it.
That's gross.
Okay, how is this regional similar or different to its neighbors? Is there an ethnic group that's in this region